So here I am, sitting at my computer, wondering how to gain more subscribers through our content. Jaden Animations does it, and so does The Odd Ones Out. By the way, their channels are awesome, and you should go check them out. And I can't help but think, how can I reach their level? How can I make my content better? And then it hits me. I need to make my videos more personal. So yeah, you guessed it. This video is about my terrible experience with needles. So before I get started, I guess I should tell you why I was getting a needle in the first place. Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Basically, when I was 7, I was found to have a rare brain inflammatory disease. But they didn't know this at the beginning. The doctors were just trying to figure out why I was throwing up everywhere and why my brain was swelling. Yup, my brain was swelling. Pretty awful, right? So here it goes, my first ever personal video. So, as I already mentioned, I was 7 at the time. And I know that all 7-year-olds probably hate needles, but I hated needles on another level. And that was before this experience. Anyways, I was waiting in the hospital room, which by the way had the most uncomfortable beds ever. Like seriously, the hospital must have been like, can we get that mattress right there? It looks awful. But this one costs less, and it's much better. Nah, we're gonna go with that uncomfortable one right there. I didn't even notice how awful the mattresses were, because I was too busy worrying about the needle. Have any of you ever worried a needle would get stuck? Or maybe your parents had a bad high school experience with the nurse, and they were out to get their firstborn? Well, if you have, you're not alone. I must have thought up 100 different ways the needle could go wrong before the nurse even entered the room. And when she did, everything was fairly normal. The nurse had bob cut hair and looked very friendly. And her name was Nurse Sunny. How could someone named Nurse Sunny possibly be evil? If only I could go back in time and tell my past self, hey, don't let this person give you a needle. You will regret it. Sure, my 7-year-old self probably wouldn't have the brain power to understand who I was, but still, it wouldn't hurt to try. And so, Nurse Sunny told us her name and told us she would be giving me the needle. Okay, what else are you supposed to say to a stressed 7-year-old? This won't hurt a bit, because even at that age, I know you're lying to me. So I guess the fact that she didn't do that made her more trustworthy. After some chat, which by the way I paid no attention to, we began the IV process. This is when I realized maybe Nurse Sunny was evil. My first clue was how she gripped my arm. It wasn't nice and soothing, it was harsh with a this needs to be done quick vibe. You know what, maybe she was in a hurry. But when she tied the rubber band so tightly around my arm it cut off circulation, I began thinking she was the devil. I still held on to the tiny hope she would get kinder, but things only got worse. Nurse Sunny wiped my arm with a cloth and jabbed that needle right into my bloodstream. She didn't even offer me that nice freeze spray. Even though I probably would have said no, it would have been nice to have the option. That's when Nurse Sunny looked up at my parents. I missed the vein, but don't worry, I'm sure I can find it. And then she did the worst possible thing. She began wiggling the needle around in my arm. Long story short, she didn't find the vein. These veins are so small. I will have to try again. At this point, my mind was in code red. Everything was falling apart. I did not want this nurse to do that again, but before I could say anything, the needle was back in my bloodstream. Nurse Sunny repeated the jab, wiggle, sorry sequence 5 times. And at the end, what was I left with? 5 punctures, a haywire brain, and no IV. That's right. Trying 5 times, Nurse Sunny couldn't get the vein once. But luckily, that's when the angel nurse came. She flew down from the sky, a whole opening in the roof for her entrance. She held a tiny needle, barely visible to my red puffy eyes. She landed in front of me. I looked her right in the eyes and asked, how often do you miss? Never. Though she had lots of confidence, was she telling the truth? She told me to look at the TV, which I did. And while I was watching an intriguing episode of Tupi and Binu, Angel Nurse worked her magic. After about 5 minutes of watching the show, I was getting a little confused. Why was nothing happening? When are you putting in the IV? Already done. I looked at her with amazement. How did she do that? And then, Angel Nurse floated back up to where she came from. And that was the end. Even though it was a very traumatizing experience, I hope it made for an interesting video. Also, it turns out Angel Nurse is an IV specialist, which are like superhumans and never miss. I hope you enjoyed this new kind of video. I will be posting more of these soon. Also, I got a drawing tablet, so if my animation's improved, that's why. And congratulations, you watched until the end of the video. So because you're still here, you may as well subscribe. And I guess that's it. Bye!